He's back.
Who are you?
My name is Bond. James Bond.
Sean Connery as James Bond.
Kill him!
007.
Welcome to hell, Blofeld.
In Ian Fleming's Diamonds Are Forever.
When On Her Majesty's Secret Service released in 1969, the overall reception for the film was pretty mixed to say the least. While the film came to be held in high regard several decades later and even enjoyed its fair share of contemporary positive reviews, it ultimately didn't retain the same financial success as other films beforehand. A large portion of this is due to George Lazenby, whose performance of James Bond was criticized for being different and seemingly lacking in personality compared to Sean Connery. Aside from this, Lazenby quickly became disenchanted with the role he always wanted to perform in, and formally exited the franchise after performing in just one film, despite being offered a contract for 7 films. As a result, the producers found themselves once again without an actor for Bond. Albert Cubby Broccoli and Harry Saltzman wanted to start the search for a new actor for the role, with some potential actors including Adam West, Burt Reynolds, and John Gavin, the last of whom was actually signed to play the role. However, United Artists, who distributed the films, were not only adamant that a British actor was needed to play James Bond, but that Sean Connery was to return to the role that made him famous. Gavin would exit the franchise with his contract paid in full, and after a rocky negotiation process, Connery would return for the 6th and final time in the official Bond series in Diamonds Are Forever.
Sean Connery as James Bond. 007 in the newest, greatest Bond adventure of them all.
As with On Her Majesty's Secret Service, Diamonds Are Forever is one film that has an interesting story behind its production. While its story does take some inspiration from the original novel, most of it is completely original and inspired by a dream that Cubby had in his sleep. He dreamed about a man who resembled the famous film producer Howard Hughes, and wanted the idea of a reclusive billionaire incorporated into the plot. So he hired American screenwriter Tom Mankiewicz to supplement material written by longtime Bond writer Richard Maibaum. The main goal of the project was to recapture the success the franchise had with Goldfinger, even bringing back original director Guy Hamilton after a 7-year absence from the series. The original plot of the film before it was rewritten would even see Goldfinger's brother appear to take revenge for his death, but this idea was ultimately scrapped. I always wondered how that story would have panned out. Like, what would they call his brother's name? Silverfoot? Or maybe Bronze Booty? I know it sounds stupid, but literally any idea you could think of is better than what we got with this. Now, you're probably thinking, come on, it's not that bad. Sean Connery is back, Guy Hamilton is directing again, we're going to get a movie just like Goldfinger again. What could possibly be bad about that? Yeah, well, it gets bad as soon as the gun barrel sequence is over. How? Just watch.
Where is he? I shan't ask you politely next time. Where is Blofeld?
Cairo!
You gotta be kidding me. That's one of the dumbest scenes of dialogue I've ever seen in a film. Seriously, let's think about this. That guy had 3 chances to mouth the word Cairo. He could even have said another word, or hell, just move his damn mouth. Anything would have been better. But instead, he just stays still like a deer in headlights while his voice actor says,
Cairo!
I'm sorry, but I just can't get over that. It annoyed me as a kid, and it annoys me more now watching it as an adult. It's the first minute of the film, and I'm already pissed off. Let this scene set the tone for the rest of the film.
Cairo!
Anyway, that scene aside, it's actually nice to see Sean Connery back as James Bond once again. He wears the role like an old glove and fits back into it seamlessly. He still has the same casual charm and dry wit you'd come to expect from him at this point in the series, so there's really not much else to say. But there is one complaint I do have regarding Connery's appearance in this film. To be blunt, he looks too old to be in the role. He's aged visibly in the last 4 years since his previous appearance in You Only Live Twice, even though he was only 41 at the time of filming this one. It's weird because even in the early days of Dr. No, Connery was beginning to bald and had to wear a toupee while on the set. I don't know, maybe it's just personal taste, but coming off of all the impressive stunt work that was done in On Her Majesty's Secret Service, it is a little disappointing to see the action get taken down a notch to accommodate Connery's age. But again, Connery still does a great job in the role. The one-liners are still plentiful as ever, and his personality is one of the few shining lights in this film.
There's something I'd like you to get off your chest. Where is Ernst Stavro Blofeld? Speak up, darling, I can't hear you.
Instead of the ridiculous Goldfinger brother plot, we get a plot that doesn't even sound like it belongs in a Bond film, at least at first. Bond is ordered by MI6 to impersonate a diamond smuggler and assassin in order to investigate and potentially thwart a diamond smuggling ring that eventually takes him throughout the United States. It isn't until much later into the film that Bond finds out the diamonds are being used to design a laser satellite capable of mass destruction. Well, okay, that's just fine, but why does it take so long for the film to get to this point? The vast majority of the rest of the film follows Bond going from one place to another without uncovering much of anything of value, except for, well, diamonds. Along the way, he meets a variety of characters, most of whom are diamond smugglers and none of whom have any real personality aside from being stereotypical mobsters. It's like they were the only American-style villain they could think of, so they just decided to throw a bunch of them in, or a mob if you will. However, there is one smuggler that stands out from the others, and not in all the right places. Bond's journey finds him being paired with Tiffany Case, played by Jill St. John, and she is, flat out, the worst Bond girl in the Connery Bond films. She has a snarky personality and always exchanges verbal jabs with Bond, but it isn't playful and lighthearted like with Pussy Galore and Goldfinger. Here, it's just annoying.
You've got a lot of guts showing up here. After letting me freeze my behind off at a blackjack table for 2 hours waiting for some non-existent diamonds.
She does make up for it a little bit by laying around in bikinis and skimpy clothing a lot, but when that's your only positive trait, even as a Bond girl, that's pretty lame. Seriously, all she does is sunbathe in a bikini and throws a bad attitude whenever she has to work with Bond, and at times even gets in the way of it. When she's asked to retrieve a real shipment of diamonds at a casino, she instead decides to run away with them. Great teamwork, huh? It gets even better when Bond gives her the simple act of using a gun to protect him.
Here!
Shoot him!
I don't even know why she's in this film. She clearly doesn't want to get tangled up in Bond's spy game. Even Bond gets sick of dealing with her.
Bitch.
Once again, Ernst Blofeld returns as the villain. Not exactly original at this point, but it's better than Silverfoot. This time, Blofeld is played by Charles Gray, who you may recognize as Henderson from You Only Live Twice. As mentioned before, he plans to intercept and steal from diamond smugglers so that he can use their diamonds to build a weaponized satellite. This would be used to destroy nuclear weapons in the USA, Soviet Union, and China, after which Blofeld would host an auction for a global nuclear supremacy. His plot is actually pretty good by Bond standards, and even though Gray's performance isn't quite as menacing as Telly Savalas' was in the last film, he makes up for it by having lots of memorable dialogue.
As you see, Mr. Bond, the satellite is at present over Kansas. Well, if we destroy Kansas, the world may not hear about it for years. Perhaps New York, all that smut and traffic, would give them a chance for a fresh start. Washington, D.C. Perfect. Since we have not heard from them, they will hear from us. See to it, Max.
Washington, right.
Gray does a good job in the role, but his performance is wasted by some of the ridiculous scenarios he's involved in here. There's a whole angle where there are multiple Blofelds being created using plastic surgery, and I'm still not sure what the point of it is. Are they just scapegoats, or was the idea meant to have multiple sections of Spectre all run by their own Blofeld? What about the other members that we saw in Thunderball? Are they not capable of running their own illegal operations by one Blofeld alone? I know I'm digging way too deep into this, but it really is a problem I have trouble coming to terms with, especially when you got stupid scenes like this.
Well, well, well. Look what the cat dragged in.
Look at that. They had to be joking. They took someone as threatening as Blofeld and made him into a mockery. It's shameful. But damn, I haven't even talked about these two bozos yet. These guys are Mr. Wint and Mr. Kid, respectively played by Bruce Glover and Putter Smith. They're assassins hired by Spectre to kill smugglers and steal their diamonds in order to fulfill their plot. They make stupid quips every time they kill someone, which isn't far off from Bond's cheesy one-liners, but at least with Bond it's only one line and not two. They also share some really weird gay undertones between themselves, and by undertones I mean they're so blatant they might as well be overtones. The way they walk off and hold hands, you'd expect some cheesy romance music to play in the background. But don't worry, that time will come another day. There is one scene that's pretty funny though. Mr. Wint and Kid fly on the same plane as Bond and Tiffany do, which is odd considering in the last scene they explicitly said,
"If God had wanted man to fly,
he would have given him wings, Mr. Kid."
Mr. Kid spies on the two for a second, and then he proceeds to make Mr. Wint jealous.
I must say, Miss Case seems quite attractive. For a lady.
Other than that, they're just goofballs and don't at all fit the mold of being deadly assassins. I'll admit, some of the ways they kill their targets are pretty creative, but their kills get overshadowed by just how silly they are as characters, and the way their relationship is handled together is just awful. Again, this is something that was done much better with other characters in previous films, this time going back to Rosa Klebb in From Russia with Love. Rosa Klebb's sexuality was never made explicitly clear. We didn't know if she was being touchy with Tatiana as a means of intimidation, or if it was genuine sexual interest. It was ultimately left to the audience's imagination, and it's not like her sexuality was what defined Klebb anyway. She was a nasty and ruthless woman and did whatever it took to fulfill her mission for Spectre. Meanwhile, these two clowns are gay because it's funny, I guess?
Very moving.
Heartwarming, Mr. Wint.
A glowing tribute, Mr. Kid.
This leads into the main problem that I and many others have with this film, the campy humor. While the Bond films don't shy away from a little humor here and there, Diamonds Are Forever goes all in with the silliness. Now, truth be told, I don't really mind campy humor to a certain extent, and there are some scenes that are genuinely hilarious. One scene I can think of is when Bond sneaks into a technology facility. He's eventually spotted on the set of a recreation of the moon and runs off while the astronauts chase after him in slow-mo, like they're actually still on the moon. That is hilarious. Then he proceeds to drive off with a lunar rover into the Nevada desert in a pretty decent car chase, or rather a rover chase. For some reason, this is the main scene that people like to focus on when they think of campy humor in this film, as if the rover isn't realistic enough. Yeah, because Little Nelly looked more realistic in comparison, right? I'm surprised they don't complain about the elephant winning a jackpot in the casino. Or how about the black woman who transforms into an ape in front of a live audience like she's King Kong? And what about this scene where Bond talks to a rat?
One of us smells like a tart's handkerchief. I'm afraid it's me. Sorry about that, old boy.
Aside from some of the humor being corny, some of the scenes and characters are just plain weird. Bond spends a good portion of the film looking for Willard White while being assisted by Felix Leiter, who once again is played by a different actor, this time by Norman Burton. He ends up finding a lead and goes to White's house where he encounters two gymnasts named Bambi and Thumper. They proceed to beat the tar out of him using a bunch of athletic maneuvers, and then this happens. Uh-huh. Go ahead. What are you waiting for? Kick him already! Oh my god, just do it! Oh man. Willard White in and of himself is a whole other story, being played by country music singer and none other than the Sausage King himself, Jimmy Dean. He only shows up in the last half hour or so of the film, so he doesn't really have much to do. Although he's regarded in the film as an almost godlike figure watching over Vegas, he ends up being another American stereotype, this time being a loudmouth, cliched redneck cowboy. I swear, it's like the only way they could make a Bond film set in America was to make it as unapologetically American as possible, rather than just making interesting characters who happen to be American. The worst part about it all is that there's so little action to make up for it. The finale on the oil rig is cool, I guess. It has enough explosions to keep you occupied for a little while, but it's still not enough to offset the lameness of the characters, like when Tiffany swaps the wrong launch codes for the satellite.
I did it. I switched the tape in the machine.
You stupid twit, you put the real one back in.
Come on, let's go.
Ugh, what an idiot. That's not to say everything in this film is all bad though. Like I said, Connery is still great as Bond, if a little older and slower than usual. The music by John Barry, once again, is awesome. Bringing back Shirley Bassey for the title theme of Diamonds Are Forever was no doubt another nod to try and recapture the success of Goldfinger. It's not quite as catchy as her Goldfinger theme before it, but it has grown on me over the years and it fits well with the film's story, as well as having great instrumentation overall. The car chase in this film is also fantastic. As far as Connery's films are concerned, this is definitely the best since Goldfinger. It's just great to see so many cars getting wrecked while Bond tries to find his way around such a tight driving space.
I got you now. Lean over.
And in my opinion, if there's one random character that isn't immediately terrible in this film, it's Plenty O'Toole. And yes, that's her actual name.
Good job with 4,000.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Plenty.
But of course you are.
Plenty O'Toole.
Named after your father, perhaps?
She's only in the film for a few minutes, but I found her way more appealing and interesting than Tiffany Case's resting bitch face. She at least knows how to have a good time. It's unfortunate because she was actually supposed to have more screen time, as evidenced in a few deleted scenes. Sadly, she gets unceremoniously dunked as quickly as she arrives, and Bond doesn't like that one bit.
Exceptionally fine shot.
I didn't know there was a pool down there.
Overall, Diamonds Are Forever is a mess. It's clear the filmmakers were trying to copy Goldfinger and replicate its success without thinking about what made that film successful in the first place. Bringing back Connery, Hamilton, and Bassey wasn't going to solve the problems in the script. There's little in the way of story that resembles anything I'd see in a traditional Bond film. It goes way beyond the tedium of Thunderball's clinic scene. At least that one had a few interesting things happen. In this film, Bond and Tiffany meander about for almost an hour and a half of scouring for diamonds, 90 minutes of boring detective work with an occasional fight scene here and there. I feel like I'm watching an episode of CSI when I watch this film. A bad one. There are a few redeeming factors like I mentioned before, and the old school American iconography that's peppered throughout the setting does make for good eye candy, but that's about it. While it is a shame that this was Connery's last official Bond film, I'm glad something good did come out of it. He was paid a record $1.25 million for the role, which in 1971 was unheard of at the time. Using this money, Connery established the Scottish International Education Trust, where filmmakers and artists could apply to fund their projects without needing to leave their home country.
He contributed his fee to Scottish Educational Trust Fund.
I started 3 years ago a trust in Scotland, Scottish International Education Trust.
Young Scottish artists, writers, painters, who could get the money if they stayed in Scotland.
With this, I could launch the trust with so much money that there could never be an excuse for it not succeeding.
While Connery may have had his differences with the producers, he was able to put them aside like the consummate professional he is and make something positive out of it in the end, which is admirable. He ended up starring in 6 official Bond films in total, and most of them are great. They still hold up really well for their age, and even give some of the newer action movies today a run for their money. But the same can't be said for Diamonds Are Forever. Boring story, terrible Bond girl, corny Bond villains, and an absolute circus of humor ranging from the good to the bad, and often downright ugly, bog it down big time. I'm not sure how this menagerie of monotony came to be, but whoever made the decisions for all these things clearly wasn't right in the head. It almost feels like it's meant to be a parody of a Bond film, like 1967's Casino Royale, or In Like Flint.
Hey, In Like Flint, that's my favorite movie.
You're pretty much better off rewatching the other Bond films before it. Diamonds Are Forever is the most recent of Connery's era, and somehow it feels the oldest, like the filmmakers were out of ideas and just tried to copy another film. And that's exactly what they tried to do. This is the first official James Bond film that I don't recommend for casual viewers of the series. But even so, I can definitely say Sean Connery did the best job he could with the material he was given at the time, and his performances will live on and shine forever like the diamond in the rough that he is. Sir Sean Connery, I salute you.
Oh, hardly relaxing, but most satisfying. Cheers.
This concludes my review of Diamonds Are Forever. Thank you for watching this video, I hope you enjoyed it, and as always, stay tuned for the next part.
Diamonds are forever.